Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. And today we're in with a little quick question session. We're going to go over the game against Leeds. Sean Dyche's second win in 3 games as Everton manager. It's looking good. 6 points out of a possible 9 so far since Dyche came in. It was a weird game against Leeds. Really, I thought we were very good. To be fair, I don't know what everyone in the chat thinks. I thought we were very good against Leeds. I thought they were surprisingly. We dominated the game. We created a majority of the chances, in my opinion, and of course, it was big Seamus in the end getting that goal, turning into Seamus Carlos and getting us a nice 1-0 win. But I'd like to know what everyone else thinks because if it's me, I've got to have the classic here where we just go over the game and go over what happened. But yeah, this is currently what we've got. This is what happened in the game because it was a 1-0 win. Seamus Coleman. We've got Erwin in the chat here. You're all right, Erwin, and. Yeah, so we're just going to go over the game, really. I thought it was an interesting one because it looks like they thought here. Sean Dyche expected us to set up in that 4-5-1, similar to how we did against Liverpool and Arsenal. But in reality, we came out in what looked like a lot more of a 4-3-3. We saw a much more advanced role for Dwight McNeil, which I thought was quite interesting. If we get Dwight McNeil's, I thought you could make it a little bit bigger, but Dwight McNeil had a fantastic performance, in my opinion. You see that heat map. He was absolutely, bombing down that right-hand side. I believe if I scroll down a little bit, I think I saw a stat. He attempted 15 crosses in the game. So if we scroll down a little bit, there you go. I mean, let's ignore how the ratio of them, only 3 accurate crosses out of an attempted 15. But yeah, I think we saw a lot more faith put into a player like Dwight McNeil, and I think he impressed in stats. I still think he had his moments where he was really lacking that end product and that final ball, but I think he did well to beat a man. I saw him dribble past a few players in the game, so it was one of those where it was an interesting game, really. I think there's a lot to take from it, and I think quite a lot of players impressed. A lot of players who I usually have not much faith in when it comes to Everton, all impressed. But if we go to the chat quickly before we really get into things here. Phil Johnston, I didn't want to pronounce that wrong. But here I take 1-0 every game. It worked for Arsenal. That's bang on. It's points are points. It doesn't matter how many goals you score in the game. If we 1-0 away to survival, I'd rather anything to survive. But the Premier League table is looking optimistic for us right now. All other results went against us. Other teams win. Other teams won their games, and it was hard, except West Ham, which was good for us. West Ham, of course, lost to Tottenham, which kept West Ham in the relegation zone, kept us out of it. I believe we're like 16th now, or something along those lines. So it's a weird one because I don't want to get too optimistic because there's a few times last season where we would dip in and out of the relegation zone. So I'm not going to get my hopes up yet, but let's see. Erwin here, McNeil put some deadly balls in, but we need a bigger forward than Morpay to put them in. Yeah, if we're going to stick to this crossing style that we played, I think McNeil, to be fair to Dwight, did play a lot of low balls to try and get it to Morpay's feet. And I do think Morpay was quite good. I want to know what everyone else in the chat thinks. I thought Morpay had one of his better games as an Everton player. And I think, I'd be very surprised if he's dropped after that. I know Sims is a decent player, and Sims has proven even when he came on to be the much better aerial threat. But I don't know. I'd be very surprised if Dyche starts Sims with how well Morpay. I think the one thing I'll give to Morpay is I think Morpay and Onana linked up very well, and I think that's a link up that could really work. The idea of we saw it Onana nodding it down to Morpay, and then Morpay getting a chance 1-on-1 with goal. But I think I don't know how you lot feel. I feel like 1-0 flattered them a little bit. I feel like we definitely could have beaten them more than 1-0, especially going on to the context of the goal that was scored. Seamus Coleman making it a yearly tradition to score against Leeds. But yeah, I thought it was a different one, but we'll go through some of the comments here because that's, of course, what the stream is all about. Richo here puts, even in Villa will be a tougher game. Great goal by Coleman. I think you bang on. I think Villa's going to be a tough game. They looked impressive against Arsenal, and I think, there were elements of luck that went against them. Arsenal, best team in the league. But I think it's at Villa Park, isn't it? But yeah, I think it's an interesting one. We really struggled to beat Villa, and I might as well bring it up here because Tazul mentions it. We haven't beaten Villa since they came up. They've turned into our bogey team. That's bang on. But I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Dyche's plan comes to it. And there you go. Owen's told me that it's at Goodison Park. So I don't know. I think it's going to be one of those where I could see us losing every away game for the rest of the season, but having a really good home record that keeps us up. I think, like I said, I think it's another season where we've got really lucky that I do think there is 3 worse teams than us right now. And I think it's one of those where any other seasons of the past we'd have been relegated last season. But I think Dyche is showing that the players have, they've got some fight into a games. I think Tarkowski again had an absolutely brilliant game at centre back. And so I think it's one of those where it is interesting to see where things go. It's interesting to see what we play against Villa. Are we going to try that 4-3 and take the game? 4-3-3 and take the game to them, a bit like Leeds? Or are we just going to go for it? Sit back, 4-5-1, play a similar style to what we played against Arsenal and Liverpool. But go through some more of the comments here. Another one from Erwin. Morpé done well, lots of running around, starting over Sims every day. Sims done well, though. Yeah, I think if he's only going to play one up top, then definitely it might be controversial. I'd be picking Morpé. I wouldn't mind a Sims Morpé up front connection, but then obviously that'd be dropping to the 4-4-2, probably giving someone like Onana less license to move forward, which I think was his best attribute. I think, I definitely think Onana probably should have got himself a goal or assist that game. He didn't. He's a young lad, though, and was arguably one of our key players in a win, just like he was against Arsenal. I think it's criminal that we've got a player that good at the club right now, especially where we're going. I think, Onana's fantastic. And I think he's really showing that he's going to dig down, and no matter who the manager is, he's willing to put the work and do what they want. And, I think we go on here, and a lot of praise for Dyche as well. I think Dyche has come in, very intelligent man, very good manager. I'm so surprised it took this long for a team to snap him up. I don't know if it was he had faith that the Everton job would come up, and so he waited and he bided his time expecting it to come up, or if he just, he just didn't want, he just sat and waited and no one actually gave him a call from the Premier League. But I'm shocked. I think Dyche has been fantastic. Darren puts here, if we had Dyche in just after the World Cup, I think we could have been out of it. Dyche 3 games and 6 points, long may it continue. I think Darren's bang on. I think, if we would have brought Dyche in, even after those Bournemouth games, maybe we would have actually signed some players in January there, because there'd have been then a clear philosophy of what we wanted instead of a last-second change once again. Tazul puts here, Morpé needs to get into the box and anticipate those crosses. Very static for a striker. I think Tazul's bang on. I think he is he had that one header cleared off the line, but he was stood still. The ball fell to him. I think he's a shifty mover and he can move really quick, and he's got those quick feet, and I think that's something he needs to use more in the box, in the sense of where maybe you're not heading it, but just drifting behind someone, just slowly losing the space, similar to what someone like Gakpo did against us when he was able to get in behind Conor Cody and tap it in. I know Gakpo's a much, much better player than Morpé, much quicker, but if you've got those shifty feet and those quick feet, you need to use them in a sense of where someone would usually use their head. But I do think Morpé was good. I think, I don't want to harp on Morpé, not like he had a bad performance. I think there were still elements of his game that he could have done much better and should have done much better, but I also think he had an impressive game and did help us in the final third. When it comes to linking everything up, I think that's one advantage Morpé has to Sims, is that, he can link the play up. He was able to get Onana into the game plenty of times. Onana almost playing as, what felt almost like a shadow striker at points. He was running around so much, covering so much distance. But because Dyche is different. Sadly, if we had Frank in the dugout, we lose to Arsenal Leeds. If we had Frank still in the dugout, we'd have been relegated this season. As I've said, love Frank. Last season, the ending at least was a memorable one, to put it nicely, and he played a part in that with getting the fans behind the players, getting the players to really understand what it means to play for Everton. But then, of course, what happened, and I think it's just one of those things. I think it's just we move on from it, and one those puts here, Dyche has been the difference maker. I really think he has. I think having that manager with that tactical nous, that intelligence to know to read how a game's going and to make changes even in the game, make changes before the game, to actually do his research. It's clear that Dyche understands these games going into them, and I think it's clear to see. Mella puts here, really happy to see Everton improve. Hopefully Dyche can do well next season. Thank you, Mella. I'm guessing you're a Watford fan. But I think it's such an interesting time to be an Everton fan now, where is it a new manager bounce? Is Dyche as good as we all expect? We know Dyche is a fantastic manager, but is it a thing where we're going to be able to pick up these consistent results to the end of the season? And with how close the table is, a few wins in a row fires you up the table. I don't think any team from bottom to 11th is really out of a relegation fight, to be honest. I think there's 10 points between Villa and bottom of the league or something like that. So I think one bad run of form for a team and the teams behind them picking up, it's really difficult right now. And I think that's a fit where it hinders and helps us at the same time. in a sense it hinders because so many teams are more in the fight now compared to last season, where it's a fight between 4 teams. Now there's, arguably 9 teams in the fight to make sure they don't have a slip up and go down. Like I said, one bad run of form absolutely ruins us. One of those tier puts. Dyche as inflexible as the stereotype and the banter. He's about the basics and done well. Admittedly, the banter is funny. Yeah, it's a very. I think the thing is with Dyche, and I think everyone in this chat can say they've done it when he was the Burnley manager. Big Brexit 4-4-2, lump it up to the striker, nod it down. There you go. I think it's it's the stereotype. It's the same stereotype that followed managers like Sam Allardyce, bloody Tony Pulis, managers of that build. And I think it's because we didn't have that manager. So, someone had to get given the mantle and it was given to Sean Dyche. But I think Dyche took that mantle because realistically, until that last season, Burnley had no money to spend, were never. And Dyche looked at players and got the best out of them. If you see how we play, I think, you could call it typical Dyche ball, but I don't think it is. I think it's very different. I think compared to his Burnley side, you see a lot more of that high press or going for the ball. Dyche sees that there's a lot of energy in the midfield and takes advantage of that by having these energetic midfielders just basically attack the front line. You see, Dyche's old school proper English football. Decore is my favourite Everton player. I think that's understandable from his time at Watford. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where Dyche is a lot more adaptable than people see. And I do think that's probably what's, it's caught teams off guard a little bit, was how adaptable he has been. He's been willing to make changes in these games, as I previously mentioned. And I think everyone expected us to sit back against Leeds because, even our history of playing against Leeds have a lot of possession. They pepper our goal. And we've always usually had good games with Leeds. But this game, we took it to Leeds. We put the pressure on them. We knew they were struggling on the position they were in. It's probably a lot worse than what ours is right now. So I think it's one of those where we went in, we attacked, and we went for it. And it worked out in the end. Yeah, there were a few. We definitely should have won more than 1-0, in my opinion. But that's down to, it is what it is. We won the game in the end. That's all that matters. One of us puts here, he may have unlocked McNeil and Decore. I think you are right. I think especially Decore, we're seeing a lot more impressive performances. McNeil, I think we're starting to get there. I think with McNeil, we just need some more accuracy on those crosses. If he can play 15 crosses again and then maybe up instead of 3, getting 6, 7, 8 of those crosses accurate, we could be winning games 3-0 with especially with someone like Calvert-Lewin on the end of them and not having to have Onana charge into the box and winning headers because, I think Onana, when he heads the ball, it's very brute strength. He doesn't have, like, for example, when Calvert-Lewin has it, Calvert-Lewin has that accuracy on the header where he can guide it into the net because his head's been his main weapon ever since he really turned into that striker under Ancelotti. So I think it's one of those where I think it is interesting, and I think we're seeing development from all the players, and it's what we'd love to see. 2 clean sheets in the last 3, and we have Mina, Godfrey, all getting keen on our bench. Great start by Dyche, baby. I think it's one of those where, Cody was a bit in the Liverpool game, but, I think everyone was in that game. I think, Tarkowski again. I think Tarkowski's up there for probably our player of the season. I think he's been fantastic. Getting him on a free is absolutely fantastic business from us, and I think he'll probably be one of the main components in keeping us up this year, having that real leader at the back and someone who's willing to, put his body on the line, almost like an older centre back, like a Phil Jagielka. Someone who's willing to put his body on the line to get rid of that ball, to get it onto the, to keep it out of our goal, basically. P. Lynch here puts we need at least 15 points now to stay up. I think you probably are right. Like I said, I don't have the Premier League table in front of me, but if I did, I think you are right. I think we're on 21 or 22. So yeah, I think you're right. That 40-point mark, around that 40.4. We'll get there eventually. That 40-point mark is about what you need to survive. It's dropped off a little bit recently, but yeah, thankfully, I think there is 3 worse teams in the league than us, depending on who Southampton and Leeds bring in. I thought Southampton looked very impressive against Chelsea, but it's hard to really gauge Chelsea as a difficult game right now. There's so many new players in the team drilling in. Sometimes they look like a fantastic team like West Ham, where I think they were hard done by, and then they play like they did against Southampton, where it's a topsy-turvy one, really, to think about. So I think it's interesting. Callum, what are your thoughts on Cody? Do you sign him permanently in this summer if we still will go down? Yeah, 100%. It's £4 million. £4 million for Conor Cody, even if he's playing backup, is absolutely nothing, because I think if you look at the squad, even if, for example, I think what it looks like we should do, in my opinion, is if we go, I know it's the Dutch league, but I think it should be Tarkowski, Jared Branthwaite next season. I think Branthwaite's good with both feet, a much better passer. Well, not a much better passer than Cody, but a very good passer, technically sound. Someone who, I know, that big body who we could use in those aerial duels from corners, like we've seen from Tarkowski. So I think it's one of those where for 4.5 million, for a reliable backup centre back, a good leader, a good dressing room presence. Because I think one problem that's always been at Everton is spirits just drop. I think the big issue at Everton, and for years now, has been when heads drop. That's it. I think having people like Cody, Tarkowski, Pickford in that changing room helps people lift their heads. Idrissa Gueye, serial winner now after his time at PSG, and obviously winning the Africa Cup of Nations with Senegal. I think it's one of those where I think having those names in the dressing room, and I think then, for example, if Tarkowski goes down with an ankle injury and he's going to miss 4 weeks, and we're playing him and Branthwaite, it's not the end of the world. Then we're bringing in a solid, dependable backup, especially if we go down. I think still 4.5 million is not much for the Championship now, even to spend. So I definitely think we should make it a permanent, even if his form has been topsy-turvy. I think he's, at his best, he's a very dependable centre-back. He got into England squads for a reason. And I do think Tarkowski's the better out of the two, but I definitely think not bringing Conor Cody back on a permanent would be a mistake from the club. We're going to some of these questions now. We will be in much better condition if we win the next game. David, I think you bang on. I think, beating Aston Villa puts us a lot closer to them in the table. And it's almost like if we can beat Villa, we can drag Villa down into a race that they don't want to be in. Because, I know Naima is a good manager, but I can't remember the last time he had to fight a relegation battle properly. So it might be one of those things where Villa have got a lot of big names as well, a lot of names that I don't know if that when times get gritty, they're going to fight for that. I think they've got a lot of good names still. I think they've got Ollie Watkins and players like that will fight. If they don't, but like names like Coutinho or even Luca Digne, they really going to want to fight for it. Alex Moreno going to come in and fight for it when he knows if they go down, I'll get a move back to a top Serie A side, La Liga side anyway, or another Premier League team might take a punt on me. Tazul says, I reckon 5 wins, 4 draws and 6 defeats will get us 40 points. That's it, isn't it? That's fifth. That's if we manage to pick that up in the last games, like you said, that's the 19 points. I think with 19 points, yeah, about 40 points, we're safe. I think there are some difficult games as well, but I think Dyche really needs to prioritise beating the teams around us. We need to make sure that the teams that are around us in the league we're taking points off them while also adding to our points total. I think it's vital right now in a relegation scrap to beat the teams around you. I think we have to do it. I think if we don't do it, we're really going to struggle. And I think, some tough games on the running. Yeah, I think I probably should just do it here. I think if I can get we're going to talk about the game, but if I get a fixture list up here, it'd be a bit of an interesting thing to do. But if we have a look at our fixture list, then we'll see. So here's what we've next. Do I got a next? Here we go. So I think, is that every game until the end of the season? I believe it is. I don't know if I get this up here. That's on the left here. I don't know if I can move myself, but that's every game. That's every game until the end of the season. So, yeah, if I scroll down a little bit, you can definitely see it. There we go. That probably makes it a bit easier for everyone, doesn't it? So on the left there above me is every game until the end of the season, I think. I don't think Villa's on there, actually. Let me check. Because that's only March. There we go. So we've missed 2 games. We had Villa, Everton, and Villa, Arsenal. So I say, we can if we beat Villa, I expect us to lose to Arsenal, to be honest. And then Arsenal will be very tough. But I think if we can nick something from Arsenal away, then I think our survival's, very good chance of it. But, Forest at the City ground, I think that's a big game to win. At home at Brentford. But even at home to Tottenham, I think we can nick something. But, we have got some really difficult games. We've still got Man United, Tottenham, Chelsea, Newcastle at home. Our last game is Bournemouth at home. That isn't right, is it? Did that get rescheduled? Is that why it is? Because that makes sense if it's been rescheduled. Or is there another page? Let me check. Here you go. There's 3 more games that I didn't realise, Owen. Thank you. And then we've got these the last 3 games where I think, if we're able to beat some of the teams around us, you look at Wolves away, for example. I think if we're able to beat these teams, then all of a sudden you're looking at a completely different scenario completely, beating teams like Bournemouth, Wolves, Forest, Crystal Palace. It gives us that space to Villa as well. It gives us that space to where if we do lose to an Arsenal, to a Man City, to a Man United, we're like, okay, it's not that bad. Don't forget Mina is great in both boxes. If he's fit, play me, he's class. I think it's his reliability that's a problem. I think the only issue with Yerry Mina, of course, is, is if he comes in and then just gets injured 30 minutes into the game and has to go off, when we've got Tarkowski and Cody, who are both very reliable. I think both have had very little issues with injury in the past. So I think it's one of those where I understand Yermin is very talented, but you also don't then want to take a pointless risk in forcing, almost forcing something out of something that doesn't need to. Gardner and Patterson still need to come back. Yeah, that is true. I think Patterson will be fantastic under Dyche, to be honest. Look at how well Seamus Coleman's been doing. I think he had a slip in the Liverpool game, but I think he was fantastic against Arsenal and Leeds, to the point where I don't even know if Dyche will drop him, to be completely honest with you. But I think James Garner will be an interesting one. Not Gardner. James Garner will be an interesting one. I don't really know, to be honest with you. I think it's an interesting one. I don't know if he would play. I think he'd definitely get a lot of bench minutes, and I think it'd be nice to have the rotation option there. So I definitely think he'll get some minutes in. But I can't see him changing with the midfield he's got currently, unless I don't know if some more news about the Onana injuries come out since. But Dyche is apparently saying that it doesn't really look that serious, is something I saw on Twitter. That'd be right, but maybe a thing where he misses one game and then he's back in. Garner as a surprise package. I think you bang on, Owen. I think he was fantastic at Nottingham Forest, though. I think he's one of those players that really dictated the tempo at Nottingham Forest. Well, he also had a big work rate on him as well. So a player that could do wonders at Everton. I think we really need that midfielder that can dictate a tempo of a game and can control games in our favour if we're going to play like we play against Leeds. Having that midfielder with a nice long range of passing who can get it, play it, and then wasn't Dyche at Southport to watch Garner and Patterson play in a U21 game? I do think so, because I think that was mentioned on the broadcast on what I watched. So yeah, I do think so. I think it is definitely it won't surprise me with Dyche at all, to be honest with you. I mean, remember he was at that Forest game like 2 days after the Arsenal game or something like that. Might have even been the day after. So Melo puts Everton can beat anyone at Goodison. I do think you're right. I do think we can, if the atmosphere is booming like it is when when new things are, when it's time to support the players, the atmosphere is always booming. So I think, I don't see why not. I think it's one of those things where I feel like this season it's going to be our own mistakes that cost us. I don't think it's nothing down to the manager now. Obviously, unless Dyche starts playing like a 2-4, a 2-4-4 or something ridiculously stupid, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think it's. I don't know. I don't want to get too optimistic because it's been 3 games and there is such thing as a new manager bounce. And Burnley went on good bits of form last season before going down. But I remember him coming back to beat us. But I think it's one of those where I think Dyche is good enough. I think Dyche is smart enough as a manager to definitely make sure that we're not put in that position, to make sure that we're not folded in a position where we're just stuck, just hoping for something. Almost like last season where, sorry for the itchman on us, but almost like where we felt forced in doing something. I think it's a lot different now. But if we get some stats here, some interesting stats on the hard work thing. Is the squad better than last season? Oh, I don't know, because you take Richarlison out of the squad. Yeah, I don't remember who you take him. I mean, Anthony Gordon's not a big list. I don't know. I don't know, because we just don't have goals. Calvert-Lewin's injured. But I also think we've got a much better midfield than last season. I think we've much better midfield, a much better defence than last season. But taking Richarlison's goals out of the team have strangled. We don't score. I think we're still the least. 17 goals, I think we've scored in the league or something like that. So I'd say it's on equal pegging, really. I think if we were able to get someone in to score the goals, even a few, it'd be much. Or if Morpay starts hitting form, starts scoring goals, then yeah, 100%. But I think until we get those goals, we can't say this team's better than what it was, because in the end, goals are what are going to keep us up, and maybe we won't concede, but I don't think 17 0-0s are going to keep us up, to be honest with you. So it's one of those where it's an interesting one. I think we'll have to see if Calvert-Lewin can come back and start scoring goals. Then we'll see. Do Dele and Gomez return at the end of the season? Ali, I don't know. Because my thing is with Sean Dyche, Sean Dyche might look at someone like Dele Ali as a nice, as a project, almost to return into his former glory. Andre Gomez has apparently been very good at Lille. I believe he got an assist the other day against PSG. Obviously, PSG nicked it in the end with a big Mbappe free kick. Lionel Messi free kick, which was absolutely fantastic. But I don't know. I could definitely see Dele Alli returning, but I could also see Lille trying to make the Andre Gomez thing a permanent deal. And I could see Dyche taking that because I don't think Gomez is the sort of hard worker. I don't think Dele Alli is either, really. But we'll have to see. Erwin puts nobody can save Dele. Maybe, but Sean Dyche looks like one of those managers who loves the challenge. So it won't surprise me if he kept him around as one of those rotational players. But at the same time, won't surprise me if we sold him because we have to pay Tottenham a load of things. So saying that, I've just remembered all the installments we have to pay Tottenham if he stays and plays games. So I can't see any of them coming back really. Now that I've remembered that, 5 games away from Spurs getting 10 mil from us, yeah, definitely not. Then don't get me wrong, unless like it's a thing where you might play Dele Alli at 4 games at the start of the season, and if he's really, really good, like if he's a world beater, then because is it 10 games in general, Owen, or is it 10 competitive fixtures? So is it like a thing where if Delhi comes, plays all our friendly games, it doesn't count, but then it's as soon as the league starts? Because for example, if he has an unreal preseason, you give him a run in maybe the first 2 or 3 league games of the season, and then see what he does. Because if you can even get half of what the old Dele Alli used to be, worth paying 10 million massively, because that's still what, like 10 goals and 5 assists in a league season. Something that if you came to Everton and went, here's 10 league goals and 5 assists, we claw for that right now. So I think it depends. I think it's hard with Dele Alli because Dele is a player that I loved him at Spurs, man. He was so good. That goal against Crystal Palace, how young he was, how technically gifted he was, and he had that physical build as well. But I think, you saw it in the All or Nothing Spurs documentary. I just don't think the attitude was there. And I think it is a sad one because, you look at how good he had the ability to be, and then you're like, oh, well, what a waste of such talent. But we've seen it before. Owen Puzzi's doing really poor in Turkey. Yeah, I remember the thing where weren't they losing to like a third division side? They hooked him off, and then all of a sudden went on to win the game. And I believe he's been getting massively outperformed by Nathan Redmond, if I'm right. So I think it's one of those things where with Dele Alli, I think it depends on how much he wants to save his own career, really. And I don't think he wants to save his own career. To be super frank, got the best out of nobody. Dele won't play for him. Maybe for Dyche, he will possibly be. I think that's what I mean. If someone can motivate Dele Alli to the point to tell him, look, I believe you've still got that ability to be what you once were, then yeah, I think there's a chance that he will. But I think it's a thing where I do think it depends on if it's 10 matches or 10 competitive fixtures. Because if it is 10 competitive fixtures, I can see Dyche giving him a run in pre-season, seeing how he does, and then if he does well, possibly giving him a game or two at the start of next season and seeing how he performs. And if he doesn't perform, shipping him off, maybe even shipping him off on a free, shipping him off for minimal money. It would surprise me if Dele Alli's next move is the Championship, to be honest, where, don't get me wrong, I think he's a Premier League quality player. I really do. I think calling him Championship quality and stuff like that's with the ability he has. I think it's outrageous. But I think he's very Hatem Ben Arfa, very Adel Taarabt, if you know what I mean, in a sense where he may have achieved more than both of those players when it comes to peaks at football, but he just doesn't have that work ethic. And I really do hope Dyche could maybe get a tune out of Dele Alli because I think, like I said, even 50% of what Dele Alli was at Spurs at his best he's still going to do a job for a team like us that's fighting relegation and, is looking to push towards those mid-table spots, So we'll have to see, really. I'm not too sure. Dele's not a hard worker, same as Gray. That's why Gray ain't playing, in my opinion. I do think that plays a part into it, Rob. I think you bang on. I think Dyche wants workers in the team. I think that's why Dwight McNeil's getting a running because obviously it's very well known that McNeil and Dyche had quite a big falling out at Burnley, I believe. But then clearly it's worked. I'll give it to McNeil. He works very hard. He works very hard. And, that's the one praise I will give to McNeil is while I think the technical ability is there, I think it's very similar. I think, it's similar to, not massively similar to Iwobi because I think Iwobi had a lot more technical ability than McNeil, but similar in the fact where if they can get that end product down to a point where it's even just a decent standard, it doesn't have to be some unbelievable standard, then maybe we could see a resurgence out of McNeil to be the player where people were rumouring him with £15 million moves when he was 19, 20 years old, you know what I mean? But it's a lot of maybes, and one thing I've noticed about Everton is maybes never seem to end well for us. So I think it's one of those where it's interesting. We'll see how it goes. But, I think if I just scroll down a little bit here and then put it on the screen, it's I mean, I think this really shows what Dyche wants in a team. And if we get there we go, we get this up here, do this, there you go. You can clearly see that he likes hard workers. He likes it. You see the players winning these duels. If I scroll up a little bit more and just put us, then there you go. 15 in ground duels attempted, 10-1, 15 attempted, 14 attempted, 10 attempted, 8. I think it's a really damning sight on Tom Davies here that he had 0, the same amount and less aerial duels won than Jordan Pickford. I think Tom Davies is one where I could see it being the end for Tom Davies, to be completely frank with you. Leeds didn't, that boy put there, Leeds haven't got a shot on target. Bang on. We limited Leeds to long shots quite a lot. I don't know if I can get if I just return this to me quickly. I don't know if I can get like a shot map up on here, but if I can, that'd be very nice. I can get a shot map up here. That is, what a website. There you go. So if we go back to it here, these are all lead shots, not a single shot on target. As you can see, I think they had the Somerville header over the bar. You saw the Ayling one, which was blocked. You see another block from Bamford, and block, miss from Aronson, miles wide, miss again. I think that was the Harrison one, or Bamford and then Harrison, both sent it miles wide, And then I think, you compare that to us, where, shot, mitt. You look at these where obviously it was Tarkowski. This was the one that was saved. Coleman's ridiculous strike from here. I think you see a lot more, compared to with us, we're actually taking the ball and trying to get shots from inside the box, hopefully, in the future. I think these were just, I've got Leeds up back again. I think we took a lot of shots in the box. And as you see, you had a few efforts, but I think that was when we didn't have the pass available. I do think I would like to see a bit more patience from this Everton team, to the point where and you bang on, I saw that. Coleman's shot was not in the box in the slightest. I think it's one of those where I think it would be interesting to see maybe this Everton team show a bit more patience now. And instead of just blasting the ball when there's not an option, maybe try to retain possession. Because I do think both Tarkowski and Cody have got decent enough passing to the point where you can trust them to keep the ball in possession. I know we don't want to start making stupid mistakes and falling for stupid traps, but in the end, if you want to be a better team, you have to learn what to do in possession. And unfortunately, we don't have a clue what to do in possession sometimes. I think that's one thing that Dyche needs to instill in the team, even if they're going to spend a majority of games not having much possession. I think that's one thing we have to definitely have a look at in the future. So I think it would be interesting. If we lose to Forest, I would not hold it against Sean Dyche. Same. Unless, don't get me wrong, if we got pummeled, like absolutely annihilated, played off the park, we made Forest look like Man City, that's a different story. But speaking of Man City, Forest played very well against them. And they showed Forest can sit back, defend for 80 minutes, and then they can turn it on really quickly. Steve Cooper, fantastic manager. He's really got things gelling over there. So, I don't think Forest I think they're in the race if we're going off points totals and how close the points are. But I really can't see a world where Forest get relegated, to be honest with you, especially with, Keylor Navas, who's already a top 5 goalkeeper in the Premier League, in my opinion. Absolutely fantastic against Man City. Fantastic against, was it? I don't remember who they played the first game where they won 1-0, but Melo puts West Ham in big trouble. I don't know. I think West Ham have got quality that eventually will bail them out. But I saying that the team that went down with 42 points had a lot of quality. I believe they had, I'm trying to remember who they had in it. It was a fantastic squad though, and they went down. So won't surprise me. Everton are better playing long ball. Dyche knows that. I think, P, you're right. You look at the personnel we've got now, it's suited to long ball football. And I think Dyche is going to try change that. I think he's going to try get it more playing at the players' feet. And I think we saw it a bit last game. But I think it's going to be almost like a mixture of playing it with the feet and then hoofing it long. Like I said, we've got the size, we've got the athletic players to do the long ball style. But then I also think we have a few players who have real technical ability. And Dave's got his Pickford on 4 yellow cards. I believe so. But I think we're at that point of the season where you don't get a ban from 5. You don't get a ban from 5 yellow cards now. Owen's just corrected me and said it's 5. Get the ball at the park, take possession away from the opposition and defend. Yeah, I think that's pretty simple. I think it's get the ball off the other team as quickly as possible. I think it's then, it's kind of play it around the back until you can find that long ball to someone like an Onana or someone who's got the aerial ability to win the ball, knock it down, and then we can start moving in the other team's final third. I'm really sorry for how many times I've itched my nose. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's really itchy. But yeah, I'm trying to think of some other things to do. I mean, before we end things off, really, I think why not mention what's everyone's score predictions for Villa? Are we expecting us to play in a similar fashion to Leeds, or are you expecting more of how we played against someone like Arsenal and Liverpool? What are you expecting at the game at Goodison Park? And I think it's on Saturday, I believe. Yes, Saturday the 25th, I think. I'm not too sure. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very tough game. I don't think it will be as tough as the Arsenal game. Or the Liverpool game. But I think it's it's a real good test for us, because Villa are a team that are technically around us. But I think I have the league table is up here actually. Bang on. So you look at the league table and you see that there's really between us and 11th in Villa. I didn't mean to press on Villa. Between us and Villa in 11th, there's only there we go. Between us and Villa in 11th, there is only 7 points. Same amount of games played. So I think literally any team between 11th and 20th could go down. Every team, they could do it. 1-0 Everton, if we have our shooting boots on, 2-0 Everton. I think that's a pretty good prediction. I think we're going to be very hard for this Villa team to break down. I think because what they wanted to do was they wanted to catch that Arsenal press high in. I think they are going to try play it around us, but I don't think that suits a player like Ollie Watkins. I could see them maybe nicking a long shot, Coutinho turning and banging one into the top corner. If West Ham lose next week, they're appointing Benitez from the Daily Mail. That'd be interesting to see. We'll have to see. I don't know what to think about that, but we'll have to see. Erwin says, going for a 2-0, Cody McNeil. David B puts, will Onana be okay to play? Why was he subbed? And then Erwin put Onana will be good. I think he just picked up a little knock. And I think it was one of those things where I don't really think Dyche wanted to take a risk with, arguably our key player this season. So I think it's one of those where that's all it was. But yeah, I don't think it's too much to worry about. Maybe he won't play the full 90 or maybe he'll come on as a substitute. But I think there's nothing. I don't think it's anything serious. Or we'd have probably heard about it by now, to be honest with you. But I think, unless something else gets put in the chat while I'm speaking now, I think that is going to be all. But I will say, here we go. West Ham are faster to appoint a manager than Leeds and Southampton. I think Southampton are just going to go with the guy they've got, to be honest. I think Southampton are going to give this Sellers guy a chance and then probably give him a chance to manage them in the Championship as well, to be honest with you. It really won't surprise me at all. And I don't know what Leeds are doing. I think it won't surprise me if Leeds just end up giving the job back to Bielsa, to be completely honest with you. I think that's the path they're going down right now, if I'm completely honest. But yeah, thank you all for watching the stream. I'm going to say that we are going to pick up a 2-1 win against Villa. I think we're going to see another goal from Tarkowski, and I think we're going to see Neil Maupay on the score sheet. I think Maupay is going to grab a goal, and we're going to pick up another 3 points. That hopefully fires us up the table, and hopefully a little bit further away from relegation. If hopefully the teams around us lose as well, can we get a final? Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the F part, so I don't know. I don't know if I'll get in trouble. If I'll get in trouble from the boys, but I'll give you a 1 up the toffees and Dyche, baby. Come on, you Blues. Hopefully, big win. I'll probably see you at some point soon in another stream, another video. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Callum Brannan Free. And don't forget to follow the Toffee Blues on Twitter at Everton Newsfeed. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.